The night was dark, the air crisp with the scent of autumn. In the heart of London, the tower loomed like a silent sentinel, its walls whispering secrets of power and betrayal. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of musty parchment and ink. A candle flickered on a desk, casting long shadows across the face of a man whose thoughts were as deep as the shadows themselves. This was William Cecil, Lord Burghley, the closest advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. His eyes scanned a stack of documents, each page a testament to the kingdom's finances, a kingdom that, despite its outward glory, was teetering on the edge of ruin. Queen Elizabeth I sat on the throne of England, a symbol of strength and stability. But beneath the glittering facade of her court, the kingdom's finances were a fragile web of debt and desperation. When Elizabeth took the throne in 1558, the realm was on its knees. The Queen's father, Henry VIII, had left behind a legacy of war, religious turmoil, and coffers that were all but empty. The country was poor, the nobility were in decay, and the threat of war loomed from both France and Scotland. Yet, against all odds, Elizabeth had managed to turn the tide. The early years of her reign were marked by a series of bold financial moves. Lord Treasurer Winchester, with his revision of the Book of Rates, had tripled the income from customs duties, a move that provided the Queen with a much-needed influx of cash. Elizabeth herself had continued this momentum, earning the respect of her subjects with her decision to revalue the coinage. This bold step not only restored the country's international standing, but also brought a sense of stability to the domestic economy. But as the years passed, the Queen's approach to finance became increasingly conservative. Elizabeth and her advisors, including the ever-present Burghley, were content to rely on the existing sources of income, making little effort to maximize their potential. The income from customs duties, which had been boosted by the Marian reforms, increased only marginally. The rents from crown lands, despite the occasional sale, saw only a modest rise. The failure to reassess the value of royal estates meant that the government was losing out on much-needed revenue. The Exchequer, the heart of the kingdom's financial machinery, was a complex and often inefficient institution. Staffed by a large body of capable administrators, it was hindered by inherited offices, personal disputes, and a lack of understanding from its political superiors. As the years went by, the Exchequer found itself increasingly unable to adapt to the changing economic landscape. The conservative nature of the financial system meant that when the kingdom faced new challenges, it was ill-equipped to respond. Despite these shortcomings, Elizabeth's financial conservatism had its merits. For many years, the low level of expenditure was a strength, allowing the Queen to avoid the financial disasters that had plagued other European monarchies. France and Spain, both of which had been driven to bankruptcy, looked on with envy as England remained solvent. Elizabeth's personal vigilance and the careful management of her treasury had kept the kingdom afloat, even as the winds of war began to gather. But the war with Spain in the 1580s put the financial system to the ultimate test. The burden of parliamentary taxation was unprecedented, with subsidies increasing from a single one in the early years of the reign to quadruple subsidies by the end. Even with these measures, the tax yield was still insufficient, thanks to years of lax enforcement and the underassessment of wealthy individuals. The only way to meet the demands of war was through the continued sale of crown lands, a practice that would have long-term repercussions. As the night wore on, Burghley's thoughts turned to the future. The Queen's reign had been a remarkable success in many ways, but the financial legacy she would leave behind was a mixed one. The kingdom was not in debt, but it was also not in a position to expand its income without controversy. The landed and trading classes, accustomed to paying a small portion of their wealth in taxes, would resist any attempts to increase their contribution. The stability that Elizabeth had achieved through financial conservatism had come at a cost, and the next monarch would face the challenge of balancing the books in a rapidly changing world. Outside the tower, the night grew colder, and the shadows deeper. The future of England hung in the balance, a question mark on the horizon. For now, the kingdom was at peace, but the seeds of change had been sown, and the winds of the coming storm were already beginning to stir.